One of my viewers asked me if I would watch this video and told me it's a video that's going kind of viral at the moment. It's called "I Think I Needed to Visit Poland, I'm Shook." And I agree, I think I need to visit Poland after watching all of these videos. I've just come to love the country. I'm hopefully going to be there this summer. Where would you recommend someone visiting Poland for the first time visits? What would you recommend they do in the country? But let's watch this one. We can check out this experience first of all.
Can you be connected to a country and not realize it? October 18th, 2005, northeastern Pennsylvania, USA. I'm in the 7th grade, and it's Wednesday, the best day of the week. Why? Because Wednesday was pierogi day.
Nice.
A pierogi is simple. It's a Polish dumpling. It has an outer base of either bread or noodle, and it can sort of be filled with anything. But the only version of pierogi that I was familiar with growing up was made out of noodles filled with mashed potatoes, boiled and smothered in butter and onions. I wasn't alone in my excitement either. The lunch ladies knew how much we all loved pierogis, and I think they put it in the middle of the week so that we had something to look forward to on Mondays and Tuesdays. Pierogis were a huge part of my childhood, but I never thought about why that was. Cut to almost 20 years later, and I'm spending a month based out of Prague, and I'm extremely on the fence about using one of my precious travel weekends to visit Poland. One of the best parts about staying in Prague is that it's so centrally located within Europe. I had the option to go to so many places. Is Poland worth it? For some reason, something in me eventually said yes. There aren't even direct trains to most Polish cities. So instead, I booked round-trip bus tickets to the nearest one, from Prague to Wrocław. Wrocław is hard to pronounce. It's not on many people's bucket lists. I would wager that a large portion of the American population has never even heard of it. I figured, I would walk around, get some food, get in, get out, check Poland off the list, and move on to the next destination. That's not how it went.
Yeah, actually, I've seen a lot of people mention Wrocław as a place to visit in the comments before, saying it's one of the most underrated places in Poland. Is that the case? What's good about there? What's nice to do there? Why would you go there over somewhere like Warsaw, Gdansk, any of the other big cities? Tell me about this place and what's good to do there.
I dropped my bag at the hotel and headed for the main square, called the Rajnik of Wrocław. I was starving, so I didn't even look around at my options. I didn't do any research. You wanna know a secret? I wasn't even certain that I was going to make a YouTube video about Wrocław. I'm serious, I mean, would anyone watch? Right on the corner of the square, I saw Stary Mirin Pierogarnia. They had just finished setup and were freshly open for lunch. Now, I had never eaten a professional pierogi. I sat down, opened my menu, and was faced with option upon option. Baked, boiled, fried, filling options for days, multiple sauce options. I went with the Mega Mix, which includes 4 boiled and 3 oven-baked pierogis. Ooh. I got a couple filled with the standard mashed potato flavor, along with some filled with beef, some filled with pork, and all of them situated alongside some sour cream and cooked onions. First of all, quite simply, this was an absolutely astonishingly delicious meal. Now, we've already established how much I love pierogis, but it needs to be said that these were on another level. And, of course they were. This is a professional pierogi restaurant in Poland. What was I expecting? Now, I make a lot of food videos. If you spend any...
Yeah, just with regards to the pierogis, what's the best way in your opinion to eat them? What's your favourite way to eat them? That's something, after watching all of these videos, I've never tried one, but I want to try it so much. And that place looks really nice. I like this about Polish towns and cities. They have these squares with the restaurants surrounding it. Really nice places. And Poland does that very well.
Anytime on this channel, you kind of know that that's what I do. But it's one thing to eat food. It's another thing entirely for food to awaken a realization in you. It sounds dramatic, but I truly had a major light bulb moment at this restaurant. What I realized changed the way that I was about to view my trip to Wrocław entirely. I started to walk around the square. I was full, I was happy. It was a perfect day. I think it was actually 72 degrees Fahrenheit and sunny, and I was noticing things differently now. Now, it's important to mention that I am not in any way Polish. My ancestry is almost entirely English with a little bit of Irish mixed in. Polish is not a part of my background. At least not in a genetic sense. That said, it's a little different in the environmental sense. See, the reason that we were fed pierogies every week in school is because the part of the USA that I am from, in northeastern Pennsylvania, is heavily Polish. Polish food and traditions are baked into society in such a substantial way that I sort of thought that that's just how everyone in America lived. Polish culinary traditions were passed on to me throughout my childhood without me even realizing it. From a traditional standpoint, this place might be the closest thing to home that exists for me in Europe.
That's interesting. Yeah, I get that connection. I know there's a lot of Polish people of Polish heritage in America. To see that map there and see how densely populated it is with Polish people or people of Polish heritage is quite interesting. Tell me if you've ever been as a Polish person to America, to any of those places. What's it like? How deep is the culture celebrated there? Does the food taste different? Is it different over there in America, or is it very similar?
I quickly opened Google and searched most famous dishes to try in Poland, and I actually got a little bit emotional when I saw that most of them were just variations on dishes that I grew up eating. I went to a traditional pub called Bar Ubitki, where I had some delicious sausage with a side of potatoes. And because apparently that's not quite enough potatoes for one Polish meal,
So nice.
I ordered a side of potato pancakes as well.
Yes.
This took me right home, right to the Plymouth, Pennsylvania Kielbasa Festival. I could not wait for my next meal. My curiosity was at an all-time high. The next day I went to a really cool restaurant called Restauracja Konspira to try cabbage rolls, or as my family would call them, pigs in a blanket. Now let me just say, this is a really fascinating place to eat. It's based around Poland in the 80s, a time in which Poland was trying to figure out its identity in the post-war, post-communist era. I highly recommend making a visit if you happen to be in town. The menu doubles as a historical magazine, which gives a really interesting backdrop to the experience, and the food is super affordable and amazing. I actually found a famous Polish dish called żurek that I ordered as my starter. It's made with a rye flour base and comes with pork and a boiled egg. Now, this was new, but I'd be lying if I said we didn't have something pretty similar pretty often when I was a kid. The soup was great, the cabbage rolls were delicious. I intended to order them covered in tomato sauce, but I somehow accidentally got mushroom cream sauce. But you know, I took the opportunity to try a new version of a dish that was familiar to me. I'll stick with the tomato. It was Easter weekend, which meant that almost everything was closed. It's crazy how less than 24 hours before, I was unconvinced if I should even visit Poland, and now I was wishing I had picked a more opportune weekend to go. But you know what? It actually ended up being perfect. Without the museums, without the distractions, I was really able to just take in the city. I took part in a free walking tour, which I'll actually link below if you're interested in doing, which really helped me gain a better understanding of the culture and the history of Wrocław. Part of that was visiting the university area, where I learned that the sword being held by the naked fencing man statue is constantly being stolen and replaced. It's basically become a sport.
Is that a thing then? So we actually have something similar in Glasgow, but it's the opposite. Is people add things to a statue. So we have this big statue in the centre of Glasgow that's a man on a horse, and they always add a traffic cone to its head. Sometimes the local government, the local council come and take it off, but it always gets put back there. You can search for statue, cone, Glasgow. You'll see photographs. It's now a tourist attraction because of that. So interesting similarity, but tell me if you knew about this one in Wrocław.
I got to visit Cathedral Island on Easter Sunday and see all the local people leaving church on one of the two holiest days of the Christian year. I saw all the
nice
love
churches
lofts in
too.
the area surrounding Tumsky Bridge and found it pretty funny to see how hard the city is working to stop couples from doing this. Apparently multiple tons of locks had recently been removed. I took a boat cruise at the last second, and it turns out the tour was completely in Polish, which makes sense, I guess, in Poland. But I was just grateful that someone with a boat was open to selling tickets on Easter Sunday. I hunted for dwarves all across town.
Yeah, I've
there
seen that
are
on a video
over
before, actually.
1,000 of these in Wrocław. It's sort of their thing. You can buy a map with stickers to try and track down 60 of the most famous ones. They have an incredible story based around the Orange Alternative movement, which used peaceful protest to combat communism in the 80s. Now, their symbol is everywhere, and it's probably one of the cutest and most original free family activities that I have ever seen. Watching the kids' joy when they found a new one was really adorable, and if you wanted, you could easily spend an entire entire day, or honestly a week, just tracking these down.
That
They're
does sound
everywhere.
fun.
After a full weekend of sailing and eating and dwarf hunting, I returned to the Rheineck in time for sunset, and against the backdrop of the gorgeous colors in the square, I couldn't help but dwell on this newfound connection to Poland. You can be connected to a country and not realize it. My bus was set to leave Wrocław in about an hour. Since it was Easter Sunday, there was only one pierogi restaurant in town that was open. It was Stary Mirin. With how much I liked it the first time, trust me, I wasn't upset to be making a second visit. I ordered some different pierogis this time, got them fried instead of boiled, and got honey mustard on the side to mix things up. Now, overflowing with potato, I headed for the bus, which meant that I had the next 4 hours to think. The realizations that I had in Wrocław shook me. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't feel like many people go to a place and are surprised to find that they have a connection to it, like I did. Right? Most people know where they're from, and they're very aware of the influences of different cultures on their hometown. The irony of it all is that everyone from my hometown is so pro-America. They'll be taking a bite out of kielbasa in one hand and waving around an American flag in the other. They'll incorporate these very Polish foods and traditions into the everyday lives of their families and refuse to acknowledge the source. The United States was built on the backs of slaves and immigrants from all over the world. And yet, so many American citizens are uninterested in traveling to explore it. Less than half of Americans have a passport. Luckily, that number has improved substantially over what it used to be. But I think a whole lot of the overly nationalistic mindsets you'll find in the US, especially in Middle America, would shift if they had the chance to see firsthand the source of the traditions that they consider to be so American. Maybe if they did, we would start to see a country that is more open and accepting of others. Thank you so much for watching.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Tell me what you think about that last one. I feel like for me, as someone who has lived outside of the UK for 13 years, lived in different countries, it's definitely changed my mindset. I was always quite open, but you really get an appreciation for people, different cultures, different religions, different backgrounds when you live or you spend a lot of time in other countries. I appreciate what he's saying with regards to the Americans being sometimes nationalistic, but I feel like even having those festivals, serving food from different cultures in school, I think that's a great thing anyway. Like, it gives the children and the people of America more exposure to different cultures, as much as they're not going to another country to find out about it. I think it's good that at least they have that option to try these foods. It obviously had an effect on him growing up, tasting all this great Polish food. I think that's fantastic. But really interesting travel vlog, a bit different from the other ones, and yeah, I really like it. I love his mentality, very open, and good to see some of another city that you don't really see much of compared to the other cities in Poland. So tell me what you think about this one. Again, recommend where I should visit in Poland, what should I do, what food should I try first, and tell me what you think about this one. Thanks.